Welcome to this explainer. You know, we hear it all the time. The government tells us our silos are literally overflowing. They say we're a surplus nation, meaning we have more than enough food. And on paper, that sounds amazing, right? It naturally fills you with this sense of pride and security. But the moment you step outside and actually look at our streets, a much darker reality hits you.
It brings up this incredibly devastating paradox. If our grain is truly surplus, why on earth is there still hunger on the streets? If we seriously have more than enough to go around, who is that innocent child searching for bread in a garbage dump at midnight?
We are essentially looking at a tale of two completely different worlds. On one hand, official warehouses or godowns are so unbelievably packed that surplus grain is literally rotting away. It's just left there to feed the rats because there's nowhere else to put it. But on the other hand, you have innocent kids and voiceless stray animals forced to scavenge through garbage dumps in the dead of night. How do these two extremes exist in the exact same country at the exact same time?
This brings us to Section 1, Food versus Alcohol.
And brace yourselves, because here is a really bitter truth from our source material. That rotting surplus grain, it is being sold off at throwaway, dirt-cheap prices to giant corporations. So instead of using this massive abundance of food to actually feed hungry people or wipe out malnutrition, the surplus is basically being handed over to fill corporate coffers. Let's look at this breakdown. Grain is fundamentally grown to do things like alleviate child malnutrition and feed the millions who go to sleep hungry. But according to the text, it's actually being diverted to distilleries to produce alcohol. Worse yet, human food is being converted into ethanol fuel to power the cars of the wealthy. The literal sustenance of the poor is being sacrificed for liquor and vehicle fuel.
Which leads to a pretty massive question. Is making alcohol more important than curing a human's hunger? Can any civilized society honestly justify tossing human food into a distillery furnace while millions of people go to bed hungry? Who is actually being held accountable for that choice?
Moving on to Section 2, the basic right of the poor. Here is where the irony really hurts. Despite this supposed massive surplus, millions of poor citizens still don't even have the ration cards required to get subsidized food. And for the folks who do have them, they face these incredibly strict, unforgiving rules, often having to practically beg for just a few kilos of grain. I mean, if there is so much excess grain that it's rotting or being sold off for ethanol, why isn't it simply being added to the ration quotas of the needy? These are the very same citizens sweating day and night to build the nation's infrastructure, yet they are completely shut out from sharing its bounty.
The original script puts it brilliantly with this quote: "The poor don't want charity, they want the right." Getting access to national resources, especially basic sustenance, is not some generous gift. It's not a handout from the government. It is a fundamental human right. The marginalized are the ones physically building the nation, so they should absolutely be the first in line to receive its surplus, not the very last.
So, doesn't the first right to the country's resources belong to its poor citizens? If the silos are full, shouldn't the plates of the poor be full too? Let's look at a different angle in Section 3, the hunger of voiceless animals.
Take a look out your window. In our society, we hold this deep cultural and religious reverence for animals, right? We respectfully refer to the cow as mata, or mother. And yet, the tragic reality is that these same revered animals are left to starve on the streets, they suffer untreated injuries from traffic accidents, and they desperately chew on plastic bags from garbage piles just to feel full. Hunger doesn't just strike humans, it hits the voiceless just as hard.
The source material actually proposes some pretty straightforward, actionable steps to fix this. Step 1. Establish a specific ration card-style system designed entirely for stray and destitute animals. Step 2. Officially guarantee that a portion of the country's rotting surplus grain is arranged as fodder for them. And Step 3. Provide free medical treatment and ambulance facilities for strays in every single city and village. Managing a national surplus has to include animal welfare as a basic moral obligation.
Because think about it. If we cannot give them a good life, who gave us the right to let them starve to death? These animals cannot speak up, they can't organize, and they literally cannot say the words, "I am hungry." They are entirely at our mercy, while our warehouses overflow. Which brings us to our final point. Section 4, the true test of humanity.
At the end of the day, true national development isn't measured by overflowing godowns, rising economic charts, or massive corporate profits. As long as a single child is forced to sleep on an empty stomach, or a stray animal is left to suffer on the streets without care, All our claims of being a surplus nation or achieving great progress are completely hollow. The true test of a civilization is exactly how it treats its most vulnerable and defenseless members.
The explainer leaves us with this incredibly powerful thought. Hunger has no religion. The voiceless have no language. Raise your voice. We can't just be silent spectators to this paradox. Remaining quiet makes us complicit in the injustice. We need to share this message, spark real conversations, and actively hold policymakers accountable.
I'll leave you with this one final question to chew on. Can a society truly honestly be called surplus if its most vulnerable humans and animals are out there starving in the streets? Take a moment, reflect on this paradox, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.